Hello everyone, this is Ashwin. I am presenting Excel to you today, and this is the fourth lecture in the series of the Data 101 courses. And today we'll be covering Excel. So, Excel is extremely important as we already know. A majority of the data analytics or the interviews for data analyst, product analyst roles, they have something or the other related to Excel, right? They have at least one question on Excel. So when we talk about Excel, we'll touch upon the very basics in the first session, and we'll try to, you know, we'll try to discuss all the formulas in Excel in the first session, and in the next session we'll look at the advanced concepts like the pivot tables, macros, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, match index functions, and so on. So first of all, I'll tell you how to navigate the table, what all is there in the Excel workbook. And we look at functions like wrap text, we look at cell referencing, right? All of that. So before moving to the concepts part, move to let me move to an actual workbook. So I have here the data of the top 200 or so startups of India, right? About 217 startups, 216 startups of India. And we essentially want to explore this data set. We want to learn the features, we want to do Sumifs, we want to make pivot tables from this data set, right? So first of all, we have the company name. This is the first column. So these are columns. These are rows. We have the company name here, domain name, uh, something about the app, right, or the business, what the business does. Then we have the founded year, city, state, country, whether it is funded or not, the total funding, right, the date on which it was funded last, the latest funded amount in USD, right? So this, I think, both of these columns essentially tell the same thing. Anyway, we'll not go into this level of detail. We look at some important columns. So we have company stage, editor's rating. What is the rating of the editor? Sunicon club status. What does Sunicon mean? Sunicon means that the company will become a unicorn very soon. So it is expected to become a unicorn soon. And there are other similar fields, business model, who are the institutional investors, angel investors of the company, description, geography, lot of information, right? Huge amount of information for companies like Paytm, Pine Labs, Policy Bazaar, Bharat Pay, Cred, all the top companies in India. And there are 217 companies in this sheet. Uh, yes, this is much better. All right. So what did I do just now? I use the warp text. I use the wrap text button. So what this does is this essentially adjusts the size of the row, and it makes everything visible into one. So basically, if you see this one, right, app based wallet for consumer payments. Now if I wrap text, what this means is that it will display all the text. As of now, I'm not able to see all the text, right? In the cell, it just shows app based wall. It just shows a part of this entire text. It does not show the complete text. But if in each cell I want to see everything, I want to see all the contents of the cell, then what I'll do is I'll wrap the text. Now if you notice, right, the size of the row and the column has been adjusted, which means that I can now see the entire text that is there. And if I select all of it and wrap the text, I'll be able to see all the details of each cell without even changing the size manually, right? All right, I'll move it back to the previous version. uh, so what did we learn just now? We learned the wrap text feature, and this is very useful. Now let's start with cell referencing. What is cell referencing? I'll just move to a easier small data table for now. So cell referencing means when we are adding, so suppose I'm using a simple formula.
I'm trying to sum all of these things. Let me do that here. I use the equal to sign, and use the sum function. Right? Is everyone able to follow? This is nothing difficult. I'm simply using the sum function, and I am selecting all this so that I can sum all of this. I uh, basically select all the entire range of cells here and put a closed bracket and press enter to find the total sum. Now let's say there was another column here, but the values were a bit different, right? Let's say this was 75, this was 20, this was 25, and let's say this was 50. I mean, some difference in the values, and I want to use the similar formula here. Now, can anyone tell me what needs to be done in this case? I don't want to write equal to sum and then select all of this again. That is, of course, one way to do it, but I don't want to do that. What do I do?
Sir, you can copy
So
one line.
You
Okay,
can take the cursor to the corner of the cell, and by clicking on plus, you can extend it to the cell.
right, exactly. This was what I was looking for. So, one way is to copy the cell. When I copy it and control V it here, I mean, paste it here, it will automatically change the range, right? It will sum the E column. Earlier, it was summing the D column. D2 to D8. When I copy it, when I copy and paste it, it will automatically change it from D to E. That is one way. But a better way to do this is move the cursor to the right bottom corner of the cell, right? And drag it to the right. What it will do is it will automatically adjust it, and it will automatically adjust the column numbers here and will display the result. Now, this is a very, very useful feature. Suppose I do it here. So see, it is basically summing everything that is here. This is 0 because there's nothing here. This is 20 because there's 20 here, and there's 3 here because there's 3 here. So total sum is 3 here. And if I do this, this is again 0 because this is not a number. This is a text field. This is a text field. This is not a number field. So basically, this is an important feature within Excel. This one. All right. Now
Does that
before
work vertically as well?
yes, that works vertically as well.
can you
So
repeat once? There was some network error from my issue.
yes, sure, sure. So I'll repeat for a vertical use case. Now I want to sum both of these things. I'll basically use equal to sum. I'll open the bracket. I'll select this and this. I'll close the bracket and will press enter. So basically, what it's doing here is it's summing both of these things, right? And and if you want, you can, if you want to copy this for all the, if you want to do the same thing for all this range, for the entire range of cells, simply drag it down. It will sum each and everything. Now the sum of this is this. Sum of both these things is 175, right? So basically you can do this vertically as well, and this is a simple way to, copy the similar formulas uh, to multiple cells for an entire range. So this is a very useful function. I think this is one of my favorite functions in Excel because it is used a lot. So I use it a lot. Um, all right. Okay. So now let me move to cell referencing. Now suppose I want to keep let's let's make this 75 and let's make this 200. Suppose I want to divide each of, okay, let's suppose I want to see the percentage share of each of these things, right? So let's say fuel costed me $74, food costed more. Let's ignore this part for now. Let's just see that fuel costed $74, food costed $235, and so on. This was the total amount that was spent. Now what's the percentage that was spent on fuel Similarly, what's the percentage spent on food, sports, books, food, music, tickets, and so on. Now, what I do is I simply select uh, I type equal to, select this cell, multiply it by 100, right? Very easy. Simply select T2, multiply it by 100, and then divide by this D9, which is the total sum. This will give me the percentage. Now I need to change the type of this one. Now this is displaying the percentage, 8.8%, right? So what did I do just now? It was displaying $9 because each cell has a particular data type, right? So this cell earlier had a data type of currency. What I did was I went here and I changed it to general, which means that it will display the same data with no specific data type. It's basically showing the percentage here to me. It's just a general data type. Now suppose I want to do the same for all these cells. It's a two-step process, but can anyone tell me what can be done? No,
So
we
we
just
can
discussed.
select it and drag it.
Drag it.
Okay, perfect. This was the answer I expected. But there's a problem here, right? If I drag it, it will change D2 to D3. That is fine. Of course, I need that, right? Because I want the percentage of 235. I want 235 into 100 by
First, we
the
will
total.
change the data type of the cells.
So we can
Uh,
fix that D9 to by putting that in
yes,
front of it.
yes, correct. So what I'm trying to bring out here is that when I drag it here, right? Let's see the change. It's showing this error. Now it changed D2 to D3. That is fine, right? We want it to change to 235. So D2 is this one, and it changed to D3. That is fine. But D9 also changed to D10. This one is D10. We don't want it to change to the next one, to the next cell, right? So for that, we use dollar signs, which freezes the cell. So I want to freeze it. Let's use this here. I want to freeze this. I want to freeze the D9 cell, right? So I have frozen it by using dollar signs on both sides, in front of D also and in front of 9 as well. So now if I drag it, everything will be fine. So it will display all the percentages correctly. And if I sum these percentages, it has to show me 100%, right? Because we are summing all of those things. Uh, yes, so this is 100%. Exactly 100%, of course. So basically, what I did was that I used cell referencing. Now this is called cell referencing. Let me move to my slides. I'll be switching back and forth. So just bear with me. All right. So cell referencing basically uses a dollar symbol to log the cell. Can you guys see my Excel? Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it
Yes,
will
sir.
log either the column or the row or both. So what do I mean by this? If you remember, right, the formula was this. I'm copying and pasting the formula here. So this was the formula. Earlier, this was the scenario. D9 was the cell which has the total of all the amounts. What I did was I used the dollar sign on both sides. Now, if I put the dollar sign only in front of D, what it will do is it will lock only the column because D is the column. If I put the dollar sign in front of 9, it will lock only the row, right? Because it is the ninth row that I'm talking about. So, and if I put a dollar sign in front of both of them, it will lock the row as well as the column. So it will lock both of them. So this is basically for locking. And there's a shortcut as well. So we can simply select the cell and press F4 to get the dollar sign automatically. You can check this out when you are using Excel on your own. Now let's move back to Excel. So basically, if I put the dollar sign only in front of D, it will log the column. but I don't want that. I want to lock the row because I don't want it to move down. So let me put the dollar sign only in front of 9. And now if I drag it, it should show me the correct results, right? See, it's showing all the correct results to me. So I just want to lock the row because as I move it down, the row also has the row also will move down, but I don't want that. So that is cell referencing. One small feature here that I want you to understand. Suppose I want only 2 decimal points. I don't want all of these decimal points. I'm not able to understand a lot of data. So just want to display it in a very subtle format. So for that, what I'll do is I'll use this one. So it increases decimal and this one decreases the decimal points. So I've selected the range and I am decreasing the decimal points. Now it's showing only 2 decimal points. If I further decrease it, it will show only the percentages. And since it has rounded each one off, the sum has to amount to 100 because all the values have been rounded off. The sum will amount to 100. Again, it has to amount to 100 in any case. All right. Now let's move to one very simple feature in Excel. Suppose I have a huge data set and I want to move to the end of this. Suppose, so here I can easily select the end last row of the data set, right? Of the data table. But suppose there's a huge data set like this one. Now I want to move to the end of this data set. What do I do? Can anyone tell me? What can be done?
Control and down arrow.
Press N.
Yes. So there's a very useful shortcut, control and down arrow, which helps me move to the end of the data table of this sheet. Similarly, control and up arrow moves me to the top. Control and right arrow moves me to the rightmost part of this data table. And similarly, control left arrow. Apart from that, we have end, like we have the suppose I very very simple features. Suppose I'm writing a formula, but there's some mistake that I've made. Let's sum this one. So let's sum all the funding. But I realized that I need to there's some error, and I need to check these undisclosed columns as well because this is not text. This will not sum properly. So I either need to change it or there's some change that I need to make. So what I'll do is, suppose I'm in the middle of writing this formula. I can simply press escape key to get out of this. And that is the case with every formula. Every formula or whenever I'm writing something. Very simple, very basic use of the escape key here. And I'm sure all of you would know this already. So this is the sum of all the funding amount that the latest funding amounts that these companies have raised. So I've simply used the sum function and I've selected the entire range. How did I select the entire range? I selected this cell, pressed the control and up arrow key as well as the shift key because it is selecting. I wanted to select uh, all the cells. So shift, control and up arrow. 3 keys I'm pressing simultaneously here. You'll learn all of this when become familiar with Excel. Let's move to templates now. So if you see this, right?
Bhaiya, sir.
Yes.
So the place where you have told how to freeze the cell, there you logged only the row. Why you have not logged the column means why there was an error when you were logging both.
No, there's no error when I'm locking both. So if you see, right, I'm not, there's no error if I'm locking both. So if I sum, let me just paste the same values here. Suppose I just want to sum these values. Okay, all right, 1 second. Let me take the same example. I am calculating the percentages, right? So I multiply this by 100 and divide this by the total, D9. And I change the data type of this to general. Now, if I want to lock both, I can do that. That is perfectly fine. There's no error in that. And if I want to just lock the column, if I just want to lock the row, that's also fine. That will also give me the same results, the correct results. So there's no error if I lock only the row or if I lock both the row and the column. There's no error because in this case, I just want the row to freeze. Column
Okay,
anyway,
Bhaiya.
I'm not changing, right?
Okay, Bhaiya.
Right. I was trying to move to the next topic, which is templates. Now let's see what are templates. Very simple, already inbuilt kind of Excel sheets. If you see, right, weekly core schedule, household monthly budget. Uh, this is a Gantt project planner, which is very frequently used in consulting firms. Project timeline. Then, of course, there would be more templates on the internet. So there are lots of templates that you can use, that you can directly use in Excel. And we mostly use a blank workbook. So templates is one thing. Next, let's move to the if loop. Um, I think I'll move to the PPT here. So the if loop is very basic. Some of you people might know coding as well. I think everyone has done a basic coding course, or if we are also having some first year rights, then you would have a basic coding course in your first year itself. So if loops are very basic in coding. The syntax for an if loop in Excel is this. So basically, we first write the logical test which we need to perform, and then we display the value. If the result is true, whatever value that we want to display, we write that here. And if the result is false, whatever value we want to display, that comes here. So that is the syntax. And I'll just show you quickly how to use the if loop in Excel. And there's similarly the Countif loop. So what this does is, if this range if this range from A1 to A10, which is 10 cells within the A column. So if these 10 cells has a value, if any of these 10 cells has a value greater than 100, then it will count that. So it will count only if this condition is true, right? So that is the Countif loop. I'll move back to Excel. All right. So let's say I just want to um okay, I just want to check if this value is greater than 100, right? If this is greater than 100, and then I'll probably display a yes, and if this is not greater than 100, I'll display a no, right? Very simple format, right? Syntax, I mean. Yes. So this value is 74, is not greater than 100, as we know, so it has displayed no, right? So very simple. Now suppose, let me show you the Countif function now. Has everyone been able to follow till now? I'm trying to move a bit fast because there are a number of things that we need to cover, and we've already dedicated 2 sessions. Um, there are a few questions. Let me first address some of them. No, no, no. So data type is not related to the dollar sign. So even if I remove this one, right, then also I need to use the dollar sign. So let's say I want to here, if you notice, I've changed the data type. Let me delete this. Let me simply write the sum of all these values, right? And let me change the data type. Now if you see all the data types, there's no data type in any of these cells. It is general, no specific format, right? So now if I want to display the percentage, I'll simply multiply D2 by 100 and will divide it by the total. I again need to use the same dollar sign here. So dollar sign is a fixed sign. We don't change it based on data type or anything. So for cell referencing, we always use the dollar sign. I hope that doubt is clarified now. Short form of dollar sign, dollar sign itself is a short form, right? Cell referencing is what we call it in Excel. Okay, I think all the doubts are now cleared. Um, Countif. I was trying to move to Countif. So let's try to understand what Countif is. If the value in any of these cells is greater than 100, then I would count that cell. Suppose I just want to understand how many of these items cost me greater than 100 rupees or greater than $100, whatever. So how many of these items have an amount greater than 100? So what will I do? I'll simply use the countif function. So I'll write equal to countif, this one, and I'll select all these cells because this is the range. I'll put a comma and I'll move to the second part of this syntax of this formula, which is the criteria. And I'll define the criteria as greater than 100. I need to put this in a double quote. Note that point, that is important. And earlier I used to not put all of these things in a double quote, and I kept on wondering what mistake I did and spent a lot of time, on trying to figure out what this is, what the problem is. But mostly in Excel, this is a very, very common mistake, not only in Countif, but also in other formulas. So take you should take care of that. So this shows that four values out of all these values, four items have an amount greater than 100. And as we can see, these four values, these four items have an amount greater than 100. Right. So I think COUNTIF is clear to you all. Now we will study a similar function, which is the SUMIF function. So SUMIF also is a very similar kind of this formula, right? We want to sum only if a particular condition is met. We want to sum this thing only if a particular condition is met. Let's say I just want to sum uh, only the items which have an amount less than 100 rupees, which is 74.20 and this 20, fuel, sports and music. Suppose I just want to sum the items which have an amount less than 100. So what I'll do is I've selected the items, I'll select the range, I'll define the criteria which is less than, or let's say equal to 100 as well. And uh, and then we have a third optional. So whenever it is enclosed in a square bracket, right? This is enclosed in a square bracket, then it is optional. So this is an optional field. I want sometimes you also define the sum range. Sometimes the range is on another column and the sum that we want to do is on another column. Suppose in this case, I just want to sum this column. Then what it will do is it will sum up 8.8, 2.39 and 2.39 again. So it will sum up only the percentages if I define this as the sum range. So that can be done. And if I press enter here, this is basically summing up this one, this one and this one. So all these three items have an amount less than 100. And this is their corresponding percentages. Let me write percentage here. So that is SUMIF. And similarly, there's a SUMIFs function which has multiple conditions, right? So the only difference between SUMIF and SUMIFs is that it has the second one has multiple conditions. I think this slide will make it easier for you to understand.
So the Sumif function or Countif function, are they case sensitive? If we use Sumif and if we write Sumif in small letter, will it work or will it throw an error?
It throws an error. So it is case sensitive. It is case sensitive. The
Okay,
range and the criteria needs to be exactly met. That is the case with Sumifs function, right? And of course with countifs also. So wherever you have a criteria, there's an exact match that they are expecting. Then there are other functions also which do not expect an exact match, right? Uh, so v lookup is one. Similarly, h lookup is there. So if you have an exact match, then we can define whether we want an exact match or not. Then in that case, they are not case sensitive. So that is there. We'll move there in a bit, but let's first understand the difference between sumif and sumifs. So as I've already told you, sumif first has a range where we want to check the criteria. Second thing that is defined in this is the criteria itself, the criteria that is to be tested on. Third thing is the range from where we will do the addition. I think this is clear to you all. Then we have the sumifs function. If we have multiple criteria here, right? If we have more than one criteria, then we have the sumifs function. So if you see first here, the formula, the syntax is a bit different. So first we have the sum range here, then the criteria range 1, criteria range 2, and so on. Whatever number of criteria we want, we can have here, right? I think this makes sense. Any questions till this point?